Hello and welcome to Keep Right On, the Birmingham City podcast, the day after the world came to an end. Birmingham City lost a game of football against a League One opponent, and the only proportionate response has to be a complete meltdown. For that reason, I'm joined by Blues fans and Twitter personalities, let's call them that, Ryan Deeney and Alex Byers. Gentlemen, has your world come to an end? Alex?
No, I'm still feeling positive, Brian. More positive than you sound, anyway. No, it was a bad one, wasn't it? But looking at the bigger picture, I think we can still relax and not panic too much.
Ryan, you all right? You okay this morning?
Yeah, I mean, I shared the tweet at the end after last night. Like, we've played 12 games in 40 days. We've won 8 of them. We've reached the cup final. We've played 7 of the top 9 in League One. Like, no, it's not all bad, is it?
No, indeed. We are here unashamedly to provide some context. Obviously, it wasn't a great performance last night. Outside of the first sort of 20 minutes, when I thought Blues were very, very good, actually, to be fair. And they moved the ball as well as I've seen them for a long time. Thought the pitch looked good, and I thought Bolton looked as though they were standing off Blues a little bit, I think, and they were sort of watching the League One champions-elect play like champions-elect. But yeah, obviously we'll come to the reasons why. But it is clear to say that Blues still remain top of the pile with plenty of clear blue water between them and the chasing pack. Ryan, let's just put this out there. What went wrong last night?
I think it surprised me on Saturday when Davies turned round and said the players look tired. I feel like in all of his interviews, when he gets thrown those little nuggets, the players might have looked tired, or you came under the cosh last 15 minutes there. He has this way of spinning it just to make it feel like, the world hasn't come to an end. We're not a bad team. We had a little struggle here and there. So to hear him come out and actually say, I thought the players looked, or he said something along the lines of the players are tired. And it kind of set us up a little bit for tonight. I don't know if it's a case of he's feeling it. I don't know about you guys as fans, but it's just felt relentless, hasn't it, since the start of the year? It's Monday, Tuesday, Saturday, constantly. And I think we just came up against a team. Bolton went forward in there. Obviously, we discussed the first 20 minutes or so, but after that, they were relentless. And it wasn't a case of they got ahead and then sat off. They kept going for the jugular, which hasn't really happened this season. And we just lacked the energy to really do anything. I think the lack of physicality was a problem. I know it's been discussed about the injuries, losing Laird, losing Anderson, losing Wright, losing Dykes, losing Stansfield, and it feels like all the pace has come out of the team. So it felt constantly like last night where we were almost on autopilot defensively and moving the ball. But once we reached a certain stage and beat the initial press, we couldn't really go anywhere further because we didn't have that ability to move in behind. Everything had to be timed perfectly rather than maybe having that out ball constantly available. And it meant Bolton could just keep pressing us, keep on top of us and keep us away from their goal ultimately.
Yeah, indeed. Alex, same question to you. What went wrong?
I think it takes a number of things for Blues to lose at this level. It's sort of a combination of many things, and last night was probably the perfect storm. Similar to Ryan, I think obviously straight away you look at the personnel changes. Bolton were able to just essentially press right up on us, knowing that there was never really going to be any threat in behind. They could really condense the game. I think when we played them at home, we had Anderson running in behind, and we absolutely killed them in the first half with the ball over the top. We didn't have that option last night. We didn't have the long pass from Allsop. We didn't have Laird's threat in behind. So they were able to really sort of gamble and just sort of push up on us, knowing that, someone like Alfie May, he's kind of got the running power of a sausage dog, sadly. Bless him. And, the likes of Dowell, they're not really going to make too many threats in behind. So I think it was a combination of many things, missing a lot of players, maybe a little bit of fatigue, although I did think we were cruising until they scored and the momentum shifted. And against, for a change, a team that was pretty good and played a a style that looked, I wouldn't say championship level, but they were a level above what we've been playing against in recent games, where we may have looked a little bit tired. We kind of got away with it. So I think it was a perfect storm. A decent team against a very watered down Blues team.
Yeah, indeed, it does feel like Blues have been playing opposition in the playoff positions since like September, doesn't it? Everyone seems to be in the playoff positions when they play Blues. Obviously, losing to Blues, they don't end up in the playoff positions, but it just feels like the fixture list has been long and hard, as you two have both alluded to. We'll come to the equaliser because there's no getting away from it. Did either of you detect a shift in the balance of play before the equaliser, or was it just Blues are in complete control, and then we'll pick apart the equaliser in a sec? But what did the script completely get turned on its head at that moment, or had there been a little bit of a sort of a slight narrative shift by then?
I don't know how you guys saw it, but it felt like every time there was a second or a ball dropped, it felt like we were half a second late in reacting. And even though we were okay those first 20 minutes and we played well, it never felt like we were sharpened on it. And it felt like that sort of moment would potentially come if Bolton could get it right. And they did. I don't think we were... I think they grew into the game and we struggled to keep up with their intensity, and again, we conceded.
I personally, I guess it's the way you see it. I didn't feel like the goal was coming. I felt like we were in pretty good control. I know they had the one chance down the left where Gardner-Hickman got skinned, didn't he? And it was a save from Peacock-Farrell.
Yeah,
I felt like we were kind of coasting with the ball to half time, and then maybe they would come out at us the second half. So I didn't feel massively under threat. I felt like the goal really shifted the momentum, and then obviously the second half they've come out like a steam train, and we just haven't responded at all.
Yeah, it wasn't that the goal felt like it was coming. It just felt like we weren't in the same sort of cruise control we normally are we? It felt like there was we probably were going to have to grind it out and just sort of keep trying to do the right things with that lack of energy, rather than just completely keeping them away from our goal with almost no threat whatsoever. It felt like if they did step up, I didn't feel like we had another level in us.
Yeah, I felt the point or the moment that you referred to, Alex, was that time where Osei-Tutu just flew past Gardner-Hickman. Before that point, I thought, right, okay, this is in control. I've seen this story many times already this season. And then Osei-Tutu goes past Gardner-Hickman, and you think, right, well, we haven't got the normal right back. Gardner-Hickman really did not look like a right back in that situation, which isn't to say that he hasn't at this time of season, because I think he's fielding very plausibly at times for Ethan Laird. But it was just at that point where I think we probably had up against one of the... There's only been 9 or 10 League One players I thought, I'd like to see him in Blues squad, and Osei-Tutu was one of those last night. That real pace and direct running. So it was at that point I thought, right, okay, this is a live opposition here. And then I think we all agree that it spiralled out of control after the equaliser. Let's come on to the equaliser. People will know that Bailey Peacock-Farrell, who is not Ryan Alsop, got beaten by McAtee at his near post. Is there more to it than that, Alex?
Yeah, there's a little bit more to it. I think it started with Cochrane out on the left, and he kind of got caught in no man's land. He didn't get close enough, and he didn't sit off him, so he kind of got himself in the middle of no man's land. Got done on the 1-2. Then Clara comes across. Can he maybe bide some time and sort of jockey him for a bit longer? He kind of commits and leaves a space in behind. I don't think Davies did particularly well on that goal either. So
Davies was nowhere near it. I watched it back a few times. And
yes,
Davies and Cochrane looked like they were running a 3-legged race as they were trying to get back there.
So yeah, there was probably a calamity of errors really at the back. And then, but having said that, your goalkeeper's there to bail you out when it happens, and it didn't happen. He's got done at his near post. It's a good strike. He struck it cleanly. but it's 18 yards, probably 16, 18 yards out. It's wide of the post. Really shouldn't be getting done there, really, should he? So, yeah, Bailey Peacock-Farrell's going to take the brunt of it, and he probably should, but it probably shouldn't get to that position.
Yeah. Ryan, I don't think anyone cares if Peacock-Farrell almost overcompensates at his near post and he gets beaten at the far post. People just go, okay, that was a bit of a defensive cock-up, and at least, goalkeepers should be beaten across the face of them. But conceding at your near post, it's a really bad look, isn't it?
Yeah, there's definitely a myth in the game that being beat at your near post is something a goalkeeper should never do. I think the problem is when you watch the goal back, Peacock-Farrell has just never got himself set. He's still almost bouncing on his feet the moment the ball goes past him. It's just like he hasn't set himself whatsoever to actually save the shot. I think whether it goes across him either way, he's getting done. And I think that's part of the problem. He looks clumsy. And when you've already got it in your head of, I feel bad saying it, but every time a ball comes into our box or every time someone has a little P-roller from 20 yards, there is the part of me with Peacock-Farrell in goal that goes, like, I'm waiting with bated breath for something to happen and kind of have that pleasant surprise when he saves it. I know it's a really bad thing to say about a goalkeeper, but that's the feeling he gives me. Whereas with Allsop, you know that if something comes in from any angle, he's probably going to deal with it, and that's what you want as your goalkeeper, don't you? You want someone who is going to deal with the ball. If he gets beaten, he gets beaten properly.
I've hung you out to dry there, haven't I, Ryan? You did say in the group chat that you didn't want to be asked about Peacock-Farrell and what have I done to you.
I looked it back earlier, and Alex will know this. He's played 16 games this season, and I think in 7 of those, even if he's not directly at fault, in 7 of those games, he has conceded a goal that he probably should not be conceding. Be that being soft from a set piece or letting one go through his legs like he did at Wigan. The goal last night, even the goal at Newcastle, he seems to hit the post and run 3 yards back into his goal, and he manages to stop it on the line, doesn't he? And he gets given, but he's just in the wrong position. It just comes across like a goalkeeper who, we said it earlier in the season, don't we? He's 6'4", and you'd never think it.
Yeah, play small. Yeah. Let's go on to the second goal. Alex, dissect this for us. Are we looking at Peacock-Farrell again because he comes and stops?
I was going to say, I'm going to wind Ryan up even more now because I think without making it a pylon, I think the second one, I don't think he covers himself in glory. If you look at the cross coming in, I think by the time it hits the head of the Bolton player, it's about 5 yards from goal, and it's not coming at a tremendous pace. I think he can come out, and if he's not catching it, he can do an all-stop and he can parry it away to relative safety. And then the ball drops. He almost seems to get deeper and deeper again. It was almost like the Newcastle one where he's going onto his line, almost behind his line. He's halfway down the M6 by the time the guy gets his foot on it. So, yeah, I don't want to pick on him too much in the second one. It's not one of those where you go, it's a complete goalkeeping howler, but I do think a more confident keeper who's less timid comes and at least gets some fists on it and just gets it, even if it's not outside the box, just relieves a little bit of pressure. So, yeah, I think he's partly culpable for that one.
If the ball travels a long way before Cochrane gets underneath it and gets beaten for that header. The fact he's come suggests he's thinking, that might be there. That might be get-atable, for want of a better expression. But yeah, Cochrane's lost a header. Then I think it might be Thor's man that scores the goal. That pokes it in at the post. It's just. Lose 2 first contacts in the box. It's never a good look. And if Peacock-Farrell comes for it and just gets up, I don't think the Bolton player makes that same contact. So yeah, Ryan, anything to add on that one?
No, same thing. I suppose I'm of a similar line of Alex. I don't want this to become a pylon of Peacock-Farrell, even though I've had my say, because ultimately the team weren't good enough, and really we're hoping a goalkeeper bows us out, aren't we? Because we've given them opportunities that we don't normally give teams. At the same time, I feel like Allsop comes out, he punches that clear, and you go again, don't you? and Cochrane somehow headed it back across goal from about 3 yards off the touchline, and it's just a bad look.
Yeah. The third goal. This is on Ben Davies, right? Culpable twice in my view for this one.
I'll let you go, Ryan, if you want.
I mean, yeah. The note I've got written down as well is that I thought Davies really struggled against Dan Uda on Saturday as well.
Yeah.
And maybe he seems to have been the one that has come out whenever we've been able to make a change at centre-back for a cup game or something. And he's played pretty much every game as part of this run, and maybe he's just at a point where he's feeling it a bit in his legs now. That's 2 games, and obviously against very good opponents, and McAtee's not big, but he certainly knows how to use his body. And yeah, it just looks like he's been. It's just tired mistakes, isn't it?
Yeah. I think he loses the initial header, doesn't he? Which I think you can forgive him for. But then the Bolton striker seems to get on his bike, and Davies just seems to just completely switch off, lose concentration, and he gets about 3 yards on him. And that's where the damage was done, really. I mean, on a more positive note, I think we can allow him this one, and I think I'm personally expecting a bit of an angry Blues now. Hopefully, I was pleased to see us in the last minute have a bit of a scrap with them. I know the game was done, but it showed a little bit of it showed us that we are bad losers, which I think is no bad thing. So I'm hoping we get back at it on Saturday and Tuesday, and we see a bit of an angry Blues take it out on some of these teams we've got coming up.
I thought that incident at the end was strange. Like, I know we looked like we were at a point where a fuse was lit and it weren't going to take much to, ignite us. But it looked as if Ossie Tutu was the one who pushed Harris. Like, he was the one that actually reacted. And then, to be fair, like there was that much left on the fuse, but we piled in after that.
Yeah, Chris Davis did say after the game that some players have played one game too many. I thought Iwata looked very, very leggy as the game went on. Obviously, we talked about Davis. It's so easy for us to go, is the selection right? And we've got all the evidence before us to say, no, it clearly wasn't right, when Chris Davis is actually having to make the selection, and he only finds out as it's unfolding. What were your thoughts on the selection last night, Alex?
I don't think he had too many options, to be honest. There was a bit of surprise, I think, from some that Bielik didn't start, but I don't think you can really play Bielik at right back without either Anderson or Wright playing high wide on the right hand side. Dowell tucked in ahead of him. I don't think he's ever going to work with Bielik, so I wasn't surprised by that. Dowell's played, I think Ryan mentioned yesterday that Dowell started 10 games in 32 days, having pretty much not played all season, so he looks like he's struggling a little bit. So you could potentially take him out and bring Harris in, but he's not covered himself in glory. So I look at the bench, I don't really see much he could have done. I mean, Stansfield wouldn't be ready to start. Djukovic has probably got 15, 20 minutes in him at best. Leonard's not quite back. So I don't think he had much else he could do, to be honest. Hopefully by the weekend, maybe one or two of them are back and we might have a few more options. But I think he's just had to play with the cards he's been dealt. I don't think there was too much he could have done. Don't know what you think, Ryan.
No, I'm the same mind. You're looking at the options to change, and really, I discussed it. Like, we kind of knew who we'd bring in, but if you play Bielik at right back, you've almost by default got to move to Gardner Hickman over to the right, and then you have to take Willemsen out to play Hansen on the left, assumedly, unless you're going to play Willemsen as a left winger. And that's not going to be a great fit. Cochrane probably hasn't got the legs to get up and down at the minute because he's had to play so much football. So it probably just picked I suppose, the roundest pegs of the roundest holes, and hope for the best. Really, it never played out. But it's hard to really know. Like, is Harris really going to give us the physicality going forward? Probably not. Is Djukovic going to give you an awful lot going forward, and then you drop May to accommodate Djukovic to give you a bit of physicality? And it just felt like one of those nights where we probably would have just had to get everything right with the ball, in possession, out of possession, to try and create and carve the chances that we needed to create, and we just weren't there on the night.
Yeah, you end up moving chess pieces around, and you know you lose more effectiveness than you gain, don't you? The more changes you make. Emil Hansen returned. I was quite pleased with what I saw from Emil Hansen last night. Not just the goal, but I thought he took up good positions. You know, he held his width well. He went outside his man once. Got a couple of reasonable balls into the box. Ryan, encouraged from Emil Hansen. I've been quite critical of him this season, but last night I thought, yeah, okay, I can see that a little bit now.
Yeah, he looked okay. He certainly looks sharp in terms of his initial movement. I think the biggest problem for him ultimately was a lack of fitness, and I think the intensity of the game became a bit too much for him, probably because he was having to cover more distance than he really ought to be covering, given the how sloppy we were and where we were giving the ball away. So I think he burned brightly but quickly.
Briefly, yeah.
Brightly but briefly, sorry, yeah. But certainly positive signs moving forward. You can see there's quality there, and I think you could see it briefly in the little December run he had as well, before he inevitably got injured again. So hopefully we can look after him getting back fit. And if Anderson isn't too far away, hopefully we can, actually have two wingers available for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's a nice balance, isn't it? If you've got one that is happy, hugging a bit of width there. Sampsted, we saw Sampsted come on as a sub as well. Alex, wasn't brilliant, was it?
Did okay with the ball. There's a few little 1-2s and got to the byline. Defensively, I think he looks a little bit on the slow side. Is it true? Is it true we've now got him permanently? Is that right?
As far as I'm aware, yeah. So the reports from the Netherlands were that he would make the transfer permanent if Blues didn't go down again. I think did they become mathematically safe against Wickham? Is that the way?
We are staying up, so we are staying up.
So nice to get a relegation battle sorted so early in the season, isn't it? Yeah.
Sampsted, I think I'm not sure we'll see him next season. I'll be honest. Even if that does go permanent on the 1st of July, I can imagine the wheels are in motion for a loan or permanent if they can. I feel a bit sorry for him. He's obviously had a few injuries, and there's other times he's been fit and he's not even been in the squad. He's done okay when he's played. I think he's quite an intelligent player and uses the ball quite well. I think with Newman coming in, I think we're going to be desperate to add more pace and power to the team. I think that's going to be the number one thing we want to add. I can see Sampsted, unfortunately, him maybe going back to Holland or whether it's Scandinavia, perhaps on a loan. That's what I can see happening.
I think in an ideal world, you want Ethan Laird to play 46 games next season, don't you? Accepting that might not happen. You probably are looking for a different profile right back to what Sampsted's been so far.
I still can't actually. I mean, we've seen glimpses of him and he's looked okay, but I can't actually tell. Like, for someone who's played in the Europa League and played at a good level in Holland, I still can't really tell what level he actually is. Like, his season's been so broken up and bitter. A part of me actually wonders. I mean, I'm of a similar mind of Alex. He probably won't be here next season, but you wonder maybe if he does get a full pre-season under his belt and takes his opportunity while we're still trying to bring in other players, like, how good actually is he? Because I still genuinely don't know at this stage of the season. Like, he's played so little games, and the odd cup game here and there, even like the under-21s games, he's been on international duty and stuff, and it just feels like I still don't actually know his level.
Yeah, I've spoken to a couple of ex-pros about him, and I always work on the basis that they know more than I do, which presumably most people would agree with. And they're sort of both of them have said, still not sure about him. It was a header last night. I think his first header sort of went infield, but then as the game went on, there was a point where he went outside his man and got to the byline and won a free kick. So yeah, you're thinking, well, exactly what is he and how good is he and where's the ceiling? Sorry, Alex, did I interrupt you?
Yeah. No, it's fine. I think Huddersfield at home, was it? And he come on and he looked really good and he used the ball really well. And he sort of replayed. He was sort of camped in their half. I think in those situations, I think he's okay. I just worry about him maybe having to get up and down the pitch quickly. I think on that basis, given how much more physically demanding the Championship's going to be and the sort of the speed at which the game moves back and forth I think Laird and Newman are going to be the two. And I don't see Sampsted being around, I'll be honest.
Yeah, indeed. Yes, let's move it on. Injury rise, Chris. Just on Hansen. Before we do that, he gave a post-match interview, and honestly, if ever a man looked like he'd rather be in a dentist chair than he'd doing a post-match interview after a 3-1 defeat, 200 miles from not 200, 120 miles from home. Emil Hansen was that man. I felt for him last night. As I said, Chris Davis gave a little bit. I don't even call it an update, can we? It was a droplet of information, I suppose, about Ryan Alsop and Ethan Laird. He said that Ryan's going to be a few games away. Same with Ethan. So there is our scrap of team news to go there to go with there. I suppose. What do we read into that? Not for the international break, then maybe afterwards potentially. I don't know. It's probably an unfair question to ask anyone because none of us know really, do we, Ryan?
Nah, we've obviously in our little Blues chat, we've kind of surmised it's probably going to be after the international break they're back available.
Yeah.
We're not really in a position. I mean, we haven't really done it all season, have we? I think from memory, Anderson and Bielik came back early and had to sort of play the way back into fitness, but otherwise, we've generally left players out to the point that they can come back in and just play football. So I'd imagine if there's a slight possibility they're available next week, they'll keep them, rest them up, and just bring them back when they're actually ready to come back to make sure they're fit and can come back in to make an impact. I mean, let's be honest, even though we kind of have our concerns about the lack of physicality and stuff like that, we've played all the top 9 now. We are in a position where we should be able to play the rest of this season and manage the players that we've got, and hopefully get them ready for Wembley, which will be really the last big game of the season now.
I was just going to come on to that, Alex. What are we in a world yet where we're thinking, well, we're not going to take any risks with Laird or Alsop because we really want them for Wembley?
I don't think that's the way Davies thinks personally. I think Davies is probably massively motivated by the records. He strikes me as that sort of guy. I think Wagner probably is as well. I think they want to leave a mark on this league that will stand for a very long time. So I still think Davies is mainly motivated by the league, and I think he's going to want to bounce back immediately and go on another mega run from now to the end of the season and try and get those records. So I don't think he'll be even thinking about Wembley at the minute personally. Just by witnessing Davies in his interviews, it just doesn't strike me as the type that would be looking at it yet. I think he'd be absolutely obsessed with Lincoln on Saturday and these 3 games coming up to the international break. So I don't think it's a factor.
Was thinking on the injury front, he's had a tendency to bring players back in for home games, hasn't he? And maybe this is just, I could be totally wrong here. It feels like players that are injured tend to come back when we've got a home game coming up. It wouldn't surprise me if maybe Leonard and Anderson, if they are available, perhaps sat out last night and might actually be available the weekend where we're back at home, more comfort. Easier maybe to bring them back in rather than, a really tough away game at Bolton. I suppose Stansfield's a different case, but then Stansfield, isn't he? I don't think he cares where he is.
Yeah, indeed. Going on to Lincoln. Lincoln won 4-1 last night. Just looking at their results, they were 1-0 down inside 6 minutes and 3-1 up inside 32 minutes and added a late goal. They are currently 12th in the league. They've lost 3 of their last 5, won the 2 others. Lincoln at home, and then it is after that Stevenage, is it?
Yes, it's the game in hand.
Yeah. Thoughts about Lincoln? What changes are you thinking that maybe Chris Davis should or would or might make, Alex?
Again, going back to previous comments, I don't think there's an awful lot I can do. The question obviously is Stansfield ready to start? Can he do an hour? That's one potential one. I wouldn't be shocked if Stansfield comes in and starts, and maybe May comes on for half an hour towards the end. Other than that, you may be looking at Anderson potentially if he's back fit. I think there's going to be much else changing. I'll be honest. I think it might just be we go again. Stansfield comes in. Maybe we have one of them back on the bench like Anderson, and maybe they can come on and do half an hour. So I can't imagine he's going to have too much to change or too many options to change it.
Would you potentially be tempted to look at right back, Ryan, and to release Gardner-Hickman to play in midfield, either alongside Pekka or Iwata, and then come up with a different solution at right back, be it Bielik or Sampsted?
I can't see him changing those midfield two. It pretty much hasn't all season. I think the only time they've been available and he has made a change was the Burton game at home. And I think Leonard only lasted 57 minutes in that, so he could bring Peck on. I just don't see him changing that. If Gardner-Hickman gets released, I think he'll be higher up the pitch. But again, you kind of run into the same problem, don't you, where we've only got one winger available at the moment. So if Gardner-Hickman isn't starting at right back, does he give Sampsted a rare start? Does he bring Bielik in and try and mix up what's going on in the front four? I just don't see him doing it. I actually think he'll go as strong as possible the weekend, almost a little bit like we did for the Cambridge game, where we've lost this one. We're not messing around. We're coming back and we're going, as Alex has just said, that almost angry, like we're not being defined by defeat. We're going again now. So I think he'll just pick his best available 11 rather than thinking about who we can take out to rest the player or to. I think he'll make the players go again.
So I'm conscious of the fact maybe not you two. I've noticed you two have tried to wrestle it back to be a bit more positive, been a little bit negative about this on this podcast. Just to say, Blues are 9 points clear with a game in hand of Wickham, and let me see, 11 points clear of Wrexham still with a game in hand. It's all fine, isn't it, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, we're still on track for the best season in English football history, going back to the 19th century. So I think we have to put it in a bit of context that we've lost the game. We've lost the match. We always thought we would probably play about 60 games this season. 2 or 3 defeats, it's almost impossible to avoid. So it was a perfect storm last night. We've lost the game. It's rubbish, but I fully expect Blues are going to be wounded and they're going to come out firing. I think we've got 13 league games, predominantly against the bottom half. I still think both points records are on the table, and I think we're going to get very close to it. And at the end of the season, I still think we'll be looking at a league and cup double and potentially a historic season. So, I'm not going to get too downbeat. I think we need to stay positive, don't panic, let these 3 games play out, get the players back over the international break, and then I think we'll have a really good end to the season. Yeah,
fully expect at least 100 points, Ryan, yeah?
Wow, what's that, 100 points? That's 8 wins from the last 13.
Yeah.
And as Alex just alluded to, we've played all the top 9 now. We only play teams 10th and below. So if we don't win 8 of those, then we really have, just decided to pack it in because we've really won the league.
On the beach, yes, indeed. Chaps, thank you very much. Just to say, if there has been a little bit of a sort of post-mortem feel about this podcast, I want the abiding sort of outro to be that we are all still very positive, and it's been a brilliant season, and there's a day out at Wembley to come and some records to break. So from all of us, it's a big keep right on.